Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7. So update 1.43 is pretty much confirmed as Kaz headed over this morning on Twitter and dropped the usual car silhouettes. Now this fully confirms that there will be an update for February, which to be honest I was kind of not necessarily expecting. Truthfully I did think it would be kind of moved around to the beginning of March, so nice little surprise there. So it does kind of, you know, roll on the fact that we've had an update every single month. Again, in terms of the cars themselves, I'll kind of give you my opinions as we go through, but the first thing we do need to touch on is how these silhouettes were actually revealed. It was completely different from the norm. So usually we'll just get a screenshot of some silhouetted vehicles and then we'll kind of just, you know, that's your lot. But in terms of the silhouettes themselves, this time it was released as a video form in around about a 10-second clip, which brought up the silhouettes and then kind of flickered through and sort of over them, revealing the sound clip of each of the car, as well as sort of briefly revealing parts of the vehicle as these sort of lines sort of shone down the vehicles. So we do know what cars we are going to get. I'd say the one that's most difficult to actually predict is the top one. So yeah, a little bit different in terms of the actual reveal for the silhouettes. I'm not sure if it actually hints at anything special coming along this update, but certainly a lot different from what we've seen at any point in time when it comes to GT7 silhouette teasers. So with a bit of a different way of doing the car silhouette teasers, let's talk about the cars that are coming. So there will be 3 unannounced vehicles alongside this update, but also a bit of a 4th bonus vehicle with the Bulgari VGT, finally leaving behind that 4.5k exclusivity with the whole watch. Starting at the top then, let's talk about car number 1, which is the top silhouette, the first one that we really kind of hear and get a feel for. And I'm pretty certain this is going to be the Evo 9. Now I am definitely not an Evo enthusiast, so it is quite difficult to tell, especially the Evo 8 and 9 really from each other. Now I'm pretty certain it will be some form of a GSR model. They typically always are, apart from the Tommy Mäkinen edition, which is I believe for like the Evo 5 or Evo 6 or something like that. But apart from that, I'm pretty much certain this is going to be the Evo 9. Again, I'm not fully clued up on Evos. They don't necessarily interest me as much as some other Japanese vehicles, but I'm pretty much certain it's either going to be the 8 or the 9. They were both in that 30 car leaked list and they've both been there I think since day 1, so it could be either 2 of those models, but I'm pretty much certain it's going to be the 9. Now in terms of sort of either the 8 or the 9 coming to the game, it'll be interesting to see if both of them do end up coming now, or if they'll just kind of settle for like one. You know, it's a bit of a weird one. So yeah, it's either going to be the Evo 8 or the Evo 9 that will come along with this update. We get a decent look at it. Now there is some people saying that you can see the plate on the vehicle as the sort of flickering goes over, and it gives away that it is the 9. So if that is the case, whilst I can't necessarily see it as clear myself, I am going to say that it's perhaps going to be the Evo 9 for a certain. Now I know when the silhouettes typically do drop, I know there's a bunch of the same guys that head over to the silhouettes and just comment, when's the Evo 8, when's the Evo 9 coming? So your wish is finally being granted. It is happening. You're either getting the Evo 8 or the Evo 9, probably more the Evo 9. In terms of my own opinions, again, I do find these cars interesting. By no means am I absolutely clued up on them, and it's definitely not my favorite JDM vehicle, but I do kind of like them, and I've found that over time, especially with like the Lancer Evo 3, which was a surprise for me last year and became my favorite car of 2023, maybe the Evo 9 will follow in them footsteps and massively surprise me with a ton of tuning potential and a ton of build potential. So yeah, I guess I am looking forward to this one. Car number 2, which is going to be the left-hand silhouette, I believe is going to be the Renault 4. Now this is definitely a bit of a quirky one, and there was many different variants of this vehicle, from sort of, you know, bread vans, trucks and all that kind of stuff. So the one that I think we're definitely getting, especially in terms of the very obvious silhouette for this one, is going to be the 5-door hatchback, which looks like such. Now this was a very, very long running car, running from sort of, I believe, the mid 60s all the way up until the kind of early to middle 90s. Overall, it was something like the 16th longest car generation run in history. They made absolutely a ton of these things. They were everywhere. It kind of went in with the sort of the French boom, a bit like with the likes of the Fiat 500, but French. You know, overall, this is a very exciting car. It does also have some motorsport history as well, so it'll be very interesting to see what kind of liveries you guys come up with. I think in terms of output and power, it was something like 24 brake horsepower, which is just absolutely ridiculous, and again kind of goes in line with the likes of the Fiat 500 for being terribly slow, but I can definitely see a ton of fun coming out with this car. I definitely think in terms of my league, I'm going to do a one make race just featuring these in their standard form for some of the slowest racing in Gran Turismo history, and I'm absolutely all for it. It's just one of those absolutely weird and quirky vehicles you just wouldn't really see in any other racing game. So absolutely looking forward to the Renault 4. It's definitely going to be the Renault 4 in terms of just that silhouette. It's so very much, I guess, obvious when you look at it. Things like the windscreen wipers, the sort of way that the front windscreen sort of slants back, the overall boxy shape of it, definitely one to look out for. And in all honesty, I know a lot of people want race cars and such, but this is definitely one that kind of, you know, piques my interest in terms of just being absolutely bizarre. So let's move on quickly to car number 3. Another car that was on the leaked car list, I believe this to be the Audi TTS from 2009. If you remember rightly from that list, I said I really wasn't that interested in that car, and it still stands for me. This is the least interesting of the bunch. The Evo for me is a bit of a tuning menace and probably going to be one of my favourite cars of the entire year, especially in terms of grinding, earning money and making multiple different builds. The Renault 4 is just absolutely ridiculous and will probably be a crazy laugh in custom races. So for me, the Audi TTS just kind of drops in as the meh car of the update. It's a car that I'm not really too interested in. It's very much outdated, and I believe in terms of the Audi TT lines, or generation should I say, I think we've got the first, and this will be kind of the middle, and then we have the more modern variant as well. So it pretty much just adds to a bunch of vehicles that we already have multiple variants of, and obviously the better version, which is a more modern version. So I'm not really too interested in this one. It probably does have has its fans, but yeah, not really one for me. But again, it was on the leaked car list, and it is finally coming alongside one of the Evos as well. So that's it for the new cars themselves. However, we do have a bit of a fourth bonus one in the form of the Bulgari VGT, or the infamous 4.5k watch car. Definitely the world's most expensive DLC finally comes out of that exclusivity that it had for update 1.42, which kind of caused a whole heap of controversy. It will finally be coming to the game for all players to try out. It was promised at the end of February, and it would make sense that it kind of comes along as a bit of a bonus, considering we only really got 2 cars last month instead of 3 for, you know, 99.9% of the player base. So that one will finally be coming alongside this update as well in a full release form, so everybody can, you know, go ahead and grab that if you really want to. However, it does seem in terms of the 2 VGTs that were on offer last month that the Genesis perhaps the better of the 2. Don't get me wrong though, a fairly quirky and quite nice looking vehicle, certainly something a bit different, but definitely not worth the 4.5k exclusivity that it was on there for a month with. So that will finally come alongside this update. I'm pretty sure that it'll just kind of, you know, fall into the brand dealership and stuff, or brand central, alongside these other cars that come along with update 1.43. So there we go. Let me know what you think of the cars down below. Like I said, for me, the first 2 I'm certainly excited for. I think the Evo's got a ton of build potential. The Renault 4 is definitely one of the quirkiest and weirdest little vehicles we've ever seen in Gran Turismo, so definitely excited for that one in custom lobbies. For me, the Audi TTS is not really my cup of tea, but it probably does have its fans out there, as well as the Bulgari finally coming out of that exclusivity from January. So yeah, let me know what you think down below. I'll see you in the next one. Take care guys, peace.